Goku vs. Gojo is unfortunately one of those topics that I feel will never end, considering you have one side that thinks that Goku just one-shots, and you have the other side that thinks that Gojo just violates. So what I want to do is I want to break down each character and what they can do, analyze everything that they scale to and are capable of, and give my interpretation as to who I think wins this versus battle. So without further ado, let's jump into it. I'm going to go ahead and start things off with Gojo, considering he is the more complicated one, and I feel that it would take me the most amount of time. Gojo's entire ability is called Limitless, and it all has to deal with infinity. More specifically, Achilles and the tortoise, or at least this is more specific to the actual barrier he creates around himself. The Achilles and the tortoise paradox is unfortunately something that's easy to understand, yet complicated at the exact same time. The paradox all has to deal with the tortoise getting a 100-meter head start, and Achilles now has to make that 100-meter head start. Yet, by the time he finally makes the 100 meters, the tortoise has already made a new distance that Achilles now has to come up to, but by the time he'll reach that new distance, the tortoise has already made a new distance. Hence, he would never actually catch up with the tortoise. And also, more specifically, in order to reach 100 meters, he'd have to reach 50 meters. And then he would have to reach 25, then 12.5, then 6.25. You get the point. Simply put, by saying that, there's an infinite amount of numbers that would come in between 0 and 100. Now, Aristotle tried to come up with a solution to the Achilles paradox, simply put, that the infinity is more or less either impossible or it's not, it's left ambiguous. Simply put, the infinite number of subdivisions is a distance that is finite and doesn't actually prevent the possibility of traversing that distance, since the subdivisions do not have actual existence. Except this is where we differ from the paradox to actual Jujutsu Kaisen, because Gojo himself actually explains to Jogo that he is taking essentially an idea and bringing it to reality. Therefore, he is making it an existence. So rather than having a theoretical infinity, we have a literal infinity. Now that we've covered Gojo's arguably best part of his Limitless, let's go over some of his other abilities real quick. He has Curse Technique Red and Curse Technique Blue, which are a push and pull effect. Then he has Curse Technique Hollow Purple, where he combines red and blue to make an imaginary mass that is essentially a matter destruction blast. This, in debating terms, would be durability negation. Now, one of the last things I'll go over is his domain expansion, Infinite Void. Simply put, you are brought into his actual ability, and he creates a field around you, and he also overloads your brain and your body with infinite feeling and infinite knowledge, to the point where your brain and body are pretty much fried from so much information, to the point where you actually can't do anything. And not only would this qualify as durability negation, but we do see a consistency within the series as to why this is durability negation, as Gojo puts his hand on Jogo's head and rips his head off with no difficulty whatsoever. Now, I want to go into where his Limitless actually scales to, and then we can go into his speed, and then I'll go ahead and jump over to Son Goku. Now, we can talk about JJK Chapter 0.4, where it says that he can control space, or we can talk about the movie, where depending on your translation, it either says that he manipulates space and time, or that he manipulates space-time. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to throw out real quick that space and space-time are two totally different things. But I think the more important thing I'm going to focus on is the Fantasy Cursed Object Picture Book Guidebook. In this guidebook, we are introduced to Toji's worm, or at least the worm that Toji uses in the actual series. In this guidebook, it straight confirms, and verbatim at that the worm that Toji had actually is a fourth dimensional worm, or more specifically has a fourth dimensional space within it. But keep in mind, fourth dimensional cannot exist within third dimensional, so it would only make sense that this worm is actually fourth dimensional himself. Now, the reason Gojo would actually scale to fourth dimensional this way is because when he launches a hollow purple at Toji, he actually ends up hitting the worm altogether. Therefore, if he can actually damage something that is fourth dimensional, that means that his abilities have the attack potency to be fourth dimensional. So therefore, if hollow purple is fourth dimensional and hollow purple is made up of red and blue, that would also mean that red and blue would have to be fourth dimensional as well. And I think it's more consistent and more logical to say that the entirety of his limitless is has fourth dimensional properties. Now let's jump into his speed. Now, in the same picture book guidebook, it actually talks about the prison realm and that it is not bound by space and time, and also that time is actually stopped within the prison realm. And within the actual series, this is not only confirmed by Gojo, but this is also confirmed by other characters, considering in chapter 221, they're actually wondering how long it's actually felt for Gojo, considering time does not actually pass within the prison realm. Now, in scaling terms, this would bring Gojo to either infinite speed or inaccessible speed, dependent on the tiering system that you're actually using in order to quantify how powerful somebody is. Now, hopefully I've made the explanation of Gojo's abilities easy to understand, but if you're still confused, I will link down below Smart by Design's video into Zeno's Paradox down in the description below if you're still confused on how the Zeno's Paradox actually works. Now, let's jump over to Son Goku. Now, Goku himself has always been a powerhouse, but this was all brought to a new level within his fight with Beerus, because within this fight they are constantly clashing fists and sending energy waves throughout the entirety of the macrocosm, and even going outside of the macrocosm all the way out to the actual Kaioshin realm. Now, a lot of people have tried to debunk this feat by this is just Beerus's energy, but Goku himself actually had to match not only the same angle, but the exact same force in order to cause an equilibrium. Not only that, but Goku also had to survive said attacks if this was all Beerus. Now, if you're actually in the conclusion that this is also Goku's energy, this would also be fourth dimensional, considering the fact that most universes dwell on the fact that they are space-times, and most universes are considered to be fourth dimensional. But more specifically, the reason the macrocosm is fourth dimensional is because of the many complex spaces that actually exist within the macrocosm, yet it all looks to be a sphere, even though when you actually analyze each of the sizes, there would no way be possible that it would be a sphere. Simply put, it would be an illogical 3D, and since it couldn't be a 3D, it would have to be 4D. I hope I didn't make that too confusing for everyone, but I will in the future be going over an how strong is Goku video, so I will definitely go more in depth, so make sure you stay tuned to my channel for when that video eventually drops. This would actually make Goku Uni Plus or Low Multi, dependent on the tiering systems you're actually using. But Goku also arguably jumps to Multi or just Low Multi by the end of BOG, considering that not only did he absorb his Super Saiyan God power into his Super Saiyan form, and then he surpassed his Super Saiyan form just by his base form, but he also continuously got stronger and stronger and stronger, and adapted more to the actual power he had under his belt. Coupled with the fact that he's gotten so much stronger within the series, he would definitely be in the range of multiversal, but he would not be multiversal plus, considering the fact that he is not infinite 4D, nor would he be high multi plus, because he's not fifth dimensional. But as I said, I will be doing a how strong is Goku video somewhere in the future, so make sure you stay tuned and I will explain why Goku does not qualify for those tiers. Now, Goku himself has always been stated by many to be the fastest anime character that is massively faster than Light Plus. Goku in no way, shape, or form has ever shown feats of having infinite speed, immeasurable speed, irrelevant speed, etc., etc., considering the many different definitions as to how you qualify for each of those tiers. Goku simply has never met these, yet he's always remained comfortably at a huge, huge, huge number for massively faster than light plus. So, more or less, people kind of sit comfortable with the fact that Goku is multiversal with massively faster than light plus speeds. But how would the Saiyan actually get through the barrier, considering the fact that we have already covered that you would need infinite speed to actually transverse the space that Gojo creates? And also, Goku can't really use instant transmission as he's always had a finite capacity, and Gojo is always using the bare minimum energy, and his energy is nearly infinite. And he also creates an infinite space, so it kind of gets thrown into the air as Goku probably can't even really use instant transmission, considering the fact that Gojo is theoretically an infinite distance away from him. But I have thought of a way that Goku can actually get through this infinity without your traditional blitz or your traditional instant transmission. And that is what he did against Hit in the rematch. That is, he could literally just break it. Now, space itself is actually physical, but as I've already stated with Gojo, not only does he bring something that is theoretical into existence, but he brings basically an idea into existence, meaning he makes an idea physical. So, at that, it should be no problem for Goku to at least actually break it, considering the fact that this is just a single fourth dimensional space, and Goku can destroy arguably hundreds of thousands of fourth dimensional spaces. But then we actually find ourselves with this question. If Goku can actually break the infinite space that Gojo creates, what is he going to do about Gojo's speed and the rest of his abilities? Now, even if Gojo has inaccessible or infinite speed, speed alone would not win you the battle, considering the fact that he would not have the physical AP to actually harm Goku. Now, if you're in reference to the Hollow Purple technique, which isn't a fourth dimensional attack, Goku has actually took fourth dimensional attacks in base off guard before. And because of this, it shouldn't really be possible for Hollow Purple to even harm Goku, considering the fact that Goku has actually had something very similar to Hollow Purple hit him in base off guard. And though he struggled, he eventually surpassed this. So it shouldn't really be possible for Hollow Purple to truly damage Goku. I would even throw into question if it would even work, considering the fact that Vegeta himself within the Tournament of Power actually powered up and punched through a Hakai ball before with just raw energy and raw strength alone. But Chaos, if an infinite barrier doesn't work, and if infinite speeds don't work, and Hollow Purple won't work, what about his domain? Now, one can probably argue that Domain would be the nail in the coffin for Goku, or at least as a last resort for Gojo, considering he wouldn't really have anything else that would actually harm Goku. However, there is a constant Dragon Ball rule in the fact that you can actually overpower someone's hacks with just energy alone, and we have seen numerous and numerous and numerous amount of times where this has actually happened within Dragon Ball. And this would also count as hacks negation because certain hacks are made ineffective. They still work, but they don't really work at the same time. And by semantics, that would also qualify as hacks negation, or at least an extremely high form of hacks resistance. So y'all could probably argue whether or not Domain would actually be the nail in the coffin for Goku, or because of this, Goku can just break the barrier and then just kill Gojo straight out. Now, considering the fact that Gojo is actually about to square up with Sukuna, it's almost guaranteed that he probably won't keep his inaccessible speeds and he will inevitably get nerfed, or at least Gojo won't be as powerful as he was thought to be. So it's up for debate at the moment, but until that happens, we are indecisive and we can only just throw out possibilities as to how this fight would go down. Make sure y'all stay tuned for my next videos. I'll be showing you guys how to power scale. I will see y'all next time.